The air inside Way Station Epsilon 7 smelled like oil and recycled oxygen. Jiho walked through the lower levels of the station, his medical bag hanging from his shoulder. He had 3 hours before his ship finished refueling. 3 hours to stretch his legs and maybe find some decent food that didn't come from a ration pack. The station was old. Most people stayed in the upper levels, where the shops and restaurants were clean and bright. Down here, the lights flickered. The walls showed rust in the corners, but Jiho liked the quiet. After 3 months on a small trading ship, with only 5 crew members, he wanted to be alone for a while. He turned a corner and stopped. A sound echoed through the empty corridor. It was wet and painful, like something breathing hard after running too far. Jiho's hand moved to his medical bag, without thinking. His training as a doctor always came first. The sound came from an abandoned maintenance bay. The door hung half open, broken years ago and never fixed. Jiho pushed it wider and stepped inside. The room was dark except for one emergency light that still worked. In the shadows, something moved. At first, Jiho thought it was a machine. It was too big to be a person. But then, the emergency light flickered, and he saw her clearly. She was a Scarith. Jiho had seen pictures in his xenobiology textbooks, but never a real one. She was at least 7 feet tall, even though she was sitting on the floor with her back against the wall. Her body was covered in scales that should have been bright green, but now looked pale and sick. Blood, dark purple blood, pooled on the floor beneath her left side. 3 deep cuts ran across her ribs. Something sharp had torn through her armor and into the flesh below. Her right arm hung at a strange angle, probably broken, but what caught Jiho's attention most was her eyes. They were yellow with thin black pupils, and they stared at him with a mix of fear and anger. Jiho raised both hands slowly, showing he had no weapons. "I'm a doctor," he said quietly. The Scarith didn't respond with words. Instead, she pulled her lips back from her teeth. They were sharp, designed for tearing meat. And then, she growled. The sound filled the entire room. It was deep and rumbling, like thunder trapped inside a cave. It vibrated in Jiho's chest and made his heart beat faster. Every instinct in his body told him to run. This creature could kill him easily, even injured as she was. But Jiho had worked with frightened animals before he became a ship's doctor. Back on Earth, he had been a veterinarian for 3 years before he went to space. He knew what fear looked like, no matter what species it came from. And this Scarith wasn't trying to scare him because she was dangerous. She was trying to scare him because she was terrified. He looked past the teeth and the growl. He looked at how she held her injured arm close to her body, how her good hand pressed against the wounds on her side, trying to stop the bleeding, how her breathing was too fast and too shallow, how she had wedged herself into the corner of the room, protecting her back because she couldn't defend herself properly. Jiho took one slow step forward. The growling got louder. He took another step and stopped. Then he bent down slowly, until he was sitting on the floor, about 10 feet away from her. He kept his hands visible and empty. "I know you're just hurt," he whispered. The growling stopped instantly. The Scarith stared at him with wide eyes. Her mouth slowly closed. She looked confused, like he had just spoken in a language she almost understood, but not quite. She was not wide. Enti, she was not wide. "You're scared," Jiho continued in the same quiet voice. "You're in pain. You don't know if I'm going to hurt you or help you. That's okay. I understand." The Scarith's breathing slowed a little. She was still watching him carefully, ready to fight if she had to. But the immediate terror in her eyes had faded somewhat. "My name is Jiho. I work on a trading ship. I'm a medical officer." He slowly reached for his bag and pulled it in front of him. "I have supplies in here. Bandages. Medicine. Things that can help with pain and infection. Will you let me look at your injuries?" For a long moment, the Scarith said nothing. Then she spoke. and her voice was rough and deep. "Human," she said, like it was an accusation. "Yes," Jiho agreed. "I'm human. Humans are enemies of Scarith. I know there's been fighting on the border colonies. I'm sorry about that, but I'm not a soldier. I'm just a doctor." The Scarith's eyes narrowed. "Why would you help enemy?" It was a good question. Jiho thought about how to answer it. "Because you're hurt," he finally said. "That's all that matters to me right now. You're hurt, and I can help. Scarith do not accept help from weak species." Jiho almost smiled at that. "If I'm so weak, then what's the harm in letting me try? If my medicine doesn't work, you can just push me away. You're much stronger than me, even injured." The Scarith considered this. Her yellow eyes moved from Jiho's face to his medical bag and back again. "You could poison me." "I could," Jiho admitted, "but I won't. Look at me." He waited until she met his eyes directly. "I'm not lying to you. I want to help. That's all." Another long silence. Then, the Scarith's shoulders sagged slightly. "Confused. Why help me?" "Because someone needs to," Jiho said simply. He slowly stood up and picked up his bag. "Because leaving you here to die when I could save you would be wrong. Because I think if I was hurt and alone in a place like this, I would want someone to help me too." He took 3 careful steps forward and knelt down beside her. This close, he could see how badly she was shaking, how much blood she had already lost. If he didn't work fast, she would go into shock. "This is going to hurt," he warned her, opening his bag and pulling out a scanner. "But I need to see how deep these wounds go. Can you move your hand away from your side?" "No." The Scarith watched him for another moment. Then, slowly, she moved her hand. Fresh, purple blood welled up from the 3 gashes across her ribs. Jiho immediately pressed a clean cloth against them, applying pressure. "What is your name?" he asked while he worked. Talking would keep her conscious and distract her from the pain. She hesitated. "Vexra." Vexra," Jiho repeated, making sure he pronounced it correctly. "That's a strong name. How did you get hurt?" "Ambush. 3 days ago, in the contested zone." Her voice was getting weaker. "My unit left me." Jiho glanced up at her face. Vexra closed her eyes. "Because I was too slow, too injured. Scarith warriors do not carry the wounded. It shows weakness to the enemy." Jiho's hands paused for just a second. Then he continued working. "That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard," he said honestly. Vexra's eyes opened in surprise. Then, incredibly, she made a sound that might have been a laugh. It was harsh and painful, but it was definitely a laugh. "Yes," she agreed quietly. "It is stupid, but it is our way." "Well, it's not my way," Jiho said firmly. He pulled out an injector and loaded it with broad-spectrum antibiotics. "And you're with me now. So we're doing things my way. This will help fight infection. It might sting." He pressed the injector against her shoulder and released the medicine. Vexra flinched but didn't pull away. Her eyes stayed on his face the entire time, studying him like he was some kind of puzzle she couldn't quite solve. "You really are just going to help me," she said. It wasn't a question. It was a realization. "Yes," Jiho said. "I really am." For the first time since he had walked into the room, Vexra relaxed slightly. She was still in terrible pain, still badly injured, but the fear had left her eyes. In its place was something new, something that looked almost like trust. It took Jiho 2 hours to stabilize Vexra's injuries. The cuts on her side needed 23 stitches. Her broken arm required a temporary brace until he could get her to better medical equipment. She had lost a lot of blood, but her Scarith biology was tougher than human. She would survive if infection didn't set in. The hard part was moving her. Vexra could barely walk, and she weighed at least twice what Jiho did. Together, They made their way through the lower levels of the station, stopping every few minutes so she could rest. Jiho kept watching for security patrols. He wasn't sure what the station's policy was on helping injured enemy combatants, and he didn't want to find out. They finally reached the times, Horizon's Edge times, just as the sun cycle lights in the docking bay were dimming to night mode. Jiho's ship was small, designed for cargo runs and small crew, but it had private quarters. And that was what mattered right now. He managed to get Vexra into his room without anyone seeing them. She collapsed on his bed immediately, her eyes closing. Jiho checked her pulse and breathing. Both were stable. Good. She needed rest more than anything now. He was organizing his medical supplies when his door suddenly opened. Hana stood in the doorway, her engineering tablet in one hand. She took one look at Vexra on the bed, and her mouth fell open. "What the hell is that?" she demanded, pointing at the sleeping Scarith. "Her name is Vexra," Jiho said calmly. "And please keep your voice down. She needs rest." Hana stepped into the room and let the door close behind her. "That's a Scarith warrior." "Jiho. That's the enemy. What is she doing on our ship?" "She was dying in an abandoned room on the station. I couldn't just leave her." "Yes, you could have." Hana's voice was rising. "You absolutely could have. Do you know what they did during the colony wars? I had friends on Station Taeyang. The Scarith killed 3,000 people there." Jiho put down his medical scanner and looked at Hana directly. "I know about Taeyang. I lost someone there too. My sister worked in the hydroponics section." Hana's anger faltered. I didn't know you had family there." Her name was Minji. She was 23 years old. Jiho's voice was quiet, but steady. She died because the station's medical computers couldn't process Scarith warning signals properly. There was an evacuation order, but it came through in Scarith military code. By the time someone translated it, it was too late. He looked back at Vexra's sleeping form. "The war happened because neither side understood each other. Because we both assumed the worst about each other. I can't fix the whole war, Hana, but I can help one person. Maybe that's where peace starts, with one person deciding to help instead of hurt." Hana was quiet for a moment. Then she shook her head. "You're too idealistic, Jiho. This is going to cause problems." "Probably," he admitted. "But I still think it's the right thing to do." Hana left without another word. Jiho knew she would go straight to Captain Minho. He had maybe 10 minutes before the captain arrived. He used the time to set up an IV drip for Vexra, getting fluids and nutrients into her system. Captain Minho was a practical man. He ran the Times, Horizon's Edge, Times like a business. Which it was. He didn't waste time on lectures when he arrived. He just stood in the doorway, looked at Vexra, and sighed. "She'll bring trouble," Minho said. "I know. If the station security finds out we're harboring a Scarith warrior, they'll confiscate our cargo and probably our ship. I know. If her own people find her, they might attack us to get to her." "I know all of this, Captain." Jiho met Minho's eyes. "I'm still not leaving her behind." Jiho met leaving her behind. Jiho met Minho's eyes. Minho rubbed his face tiredly. "You're one of the best medical officers I've ever had, Jiho. You keep this crew healthy. You work hard. You never complain. But this..." He gestured at Vexra. "This is asking a lot. One Sia Doc Biaris. I understand if you want me to leave the ship. Don't be dramatic." Minho walked into the room and looked at Vexra more closely. "How bad are her injuries?" 3 deep lacerations, 1 broken bone, significant blood loss, possible internal bruising. She'll need at least a week of recovery before she can move around properly. Can she be moved now? Not safely. No. Minho thought for a moment. We're scheduled to depart in 48 hours. She needs to be off this ship before then. Or she comes with us. I won't dump a patient in space, but I also won't stay docked here longer and risk my ship. Understood? Understood. Thank you, Captain. Don't thank me yet. If this goes wrong, we're all paying the price. Minho turned to leave, then paused. Keep her in your quarters. Don't let her roam the ship. And for the sake of all of us, hope that nobody comes looking for her. After Minho left, Jiho sat down in the chair next to his bed. He was exhausted. The adrenaline that had kept him going for the past few hours was wearing off. He should sleep, but he needed to monitor Vexra's condition. Her eyes opened slowly about an hour later. She looked confused for a moment, then remembered where she was. Her hand immediately went to her side, feeling the bandages there. You're on my ship, Jiho explained quietly. The Times Horizon's Edge *. You're safe here. Vexera pushed herself up to sitting, wincing at the pain. Safer than on that station. Here, drink this. He handed her a container of water, with added electrolytes. She sniffed it suspiciously, then drank it all in one long gulp. Your captain knows I am here? We're conning. Yes. He's not happy about it. But he won't throw you out. 8. Why not? I am enemy combatant. I could be spy. I could be dangerous. Are you any of those things? Vexra was quiet. No. I am just warrior who failed in battle. My unit left me behind because I slowed them down. I have no unit now. No purpose. What does that mean for you? Among your people? It means I am dishonored. If I return to Scarith space, I will be executed. The punishment for cowardice is death. Jiho stared at her. But you're not a coward. You were injured. That's not the same thing. To Scarith, it is same thing. A true warrior fights until death. They do not retreat. They do not surrender. They do not hide and heal. She looked at her bandaged side. I should have died in that ambush. It would have been honorable. That's insane. That is our way, Vexera said. But there was something in her voice. A doubt. A question. Has it always been your way? Jiho asked. Vexra was silent for a long moment. My grandmother told me stories when I was young. Before the military training. She said Scarith used to be different. We valued wisdom, not just strength. We valued life, not just glorious death. But that was many generations ago. Now, we only value warriors. What happened to your grandmother? She was removed from our household for teaching weak philosophy to the young. Vexra's voice was bitter. I never saw her again. I learned to stop asking questions, to follow orders, to be a good warrior. And now? Jiho asked gently. Now I am failure of a warrior. Saved by human enemy. Hiding like coward. She looked at him with those strange yellow eyes. But I am alive. And I find I am not ready to die. Even if I should be. Being alive isn't something you should feel guilty about. You do not understand Scarith culture. You're right. I don't understand it. But I understand that every species I've ever studied has the same basic instinct. Survive. Maybe your culture has forgotten that, but your body hasn't. Your instincts haven't. Jiho leaned forward. You growled at me to scare me away. But you also let me help you. Some part of you wanted to live, Vexera. Vexera looked away. You speak strange words for human. My sister died in the war, Jiho said quietly. Station Taeyang. She was a botanist. She grew food for people. She never hurt anyone. But she died anyway because two species couldn't communicate properly. He met Vexra's eyes again. I can't bring her back. But maybe I can stop another death. Maybe that matters. Even if it's just one life. Even if it's the life of someone from the species that killed her. For the first time, Vexra looked at him with something other than confusion or suspicion. She looked at him with respect. Your sister would be proud of you, she said softly. I hope so, Jiho replied. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Outside the small window, the stars slowly rotated as the station turned on its axis. Somewhere out there, A war was still happening. People were still dying. But in this small room, on this small ship, two people from opposite sides had found a moment of peace. It was a start. 2 days passed quietly. Vexra stayed in Jiho's quarters, slowly healing. He slept on the floor, while she took the bed. She argued about this at first, saying she could sleep on the floor, but Jiho refused. She needed proper rest to heal. The crew mostly avoided that section of the ship. Only Hana came by occasionally, bringing food or checking if Jiho needed anything. She never spoke to Vexra directly, but Jiho noticed she stopped looking at the Scarith with quite so much hatred. Maybe time was helping, or maybe seeing Vexra weak and injured made her seem less like a monster and more like a person. On the morning of the third day, everything changed. Jiho was checking Vexra's wounds when his communicator buzzed. It was Captain Minho, and his voice was tight with tension. Jiho, get to the bridge. Now. And bring her. Something was wrong. Jiho helped Vexra to her feet. She could walk now, though slowly. They made their way to the ship's bridge, where Minho stood looking at a display screen. Hana was there too, her face pale. We have a problem, Minho said, pointing at the screen. The screen showed security footage from the station's docking area. A ship was landing, sleek and dark green, with Scarith military markings on its hull. As they watched, a single figure emerged from the ship. He was bigger than Vexra, with darker scales and heavy armor. He carried 2 curved blades on his back. Vexra made a small sound. It might have been a gasp, or maybe a whimper. Krelnak, she whispered. You know him? Jiho asked. He is bounty hunter. Tracker. The military uses him to find deserters and dishonored warriors. Her voice was shaking. They sent him to find me. How does he know you're here? Minho demanded. He does not need to know. He follows blood trails, energy signatures, medical supply usage. He is very good at what he does. Vexra backed away from the screen. And he never fails. Never. Jiho saw real fear in her eyes for the first time since they'd met. Back in that maintenance bay, she had been scared of dying. But this was different. This was terror of something worse than death. What will he do if he finds you? Hana asked quietly. He will challenge me to combat. If I win, I am allowed to die with honor. If I lose, or if I refuse to fight, he executes me as a coward, and my name is erased from all Scarith records. It is as if I never existed. That's barbaric, Jiho said. That is justice, Vexra replied, but she didn't sound like she believed it anymore. Minho started pacing. We have 12 hours until departure. Can we hide you until then? He will scan every ship on this station, Vexra said. He will find Scarith biological signatures. He will know I am here. Then we need to leave now, Hana said suddenly. Captain, we can finish refueling in space. We have enough fuel to reach the next station. Minho shook his head. If we leave early, that looks suspicious. It might actually draw his attention faster. He'll think we're running because we have something to hide. We do have something to hide, Hana pointed out. Yes, but he doesn't know that yet. Jiho was thinking hard. What if we give him something else to track? A false trail? Everyone looked at him. Explain, Minho said. Vexra, you said he tracks blood and energy signatures, right? What if we create a fake trail leading away from the ship? We could use some of your blood. Some biosignature markers. Make it look like you left the station on one of the cargo transports. That might work for a few hours, Vexra said slowly. But Krelnak is smart. He will eventually realize it is a trick. A few hours is all we need, Minho said. We depart in 12 hours anyway. If we can keep him confused until then, we'll be gone before he figures it out. I'll set up the false trail, Hana said. I can modify some cargo containers to emit Scarith biosignatures. If I plant them on the transport that's leaving in 2 hours, he'll follow it. Do it, Minho ordered. Jiho, you keep her hidden. Don't go outside the ship for any reason. The next few hours were tense. Hana worked on creating the false trail, while Minho monitored station communications. Jiho stayed with Vexra in his quarters, watching security feeds on a portable screen. They watched as Krelnak moved through the station with terrible efficiency. He checked ships, one by one, scanning them with handheld equipment. Twice he came close to the Times Horizon's Edge asterisk, but both times he moved on to other ships first. He is hunting, Vexra said quietly. He enjoys it. He always did. You've met him before? Once. Years ago. He came to our training facility to give a lecture on tracking deserters. He talked about it like it was sport. Like we were animals to be hunted. She clenched her fists. I hated him even then. But I never thought I would be his prey. Jiho reached over and put his hand on hers. She looked surprised at the gesture, but she didn't pull away. You're not prey, he said firmly. You're a person. And we're going to keep you safe. Why do you care so much? You barely know me. I know enough. I know you don't deserve to die for being injured. I know you're questioning things you were taught, trying to figure out who you are outside of what your culture demands. That takes courage. He squeezed her hand. Besides, you're my patient. Doctors don't abandon their patients. Vexra looked at him for a long moment. Humans are very strange, she said, but there was warmth in her voice. The alarm on the screen suddenly beeped. Krelnak had boarded the cargo transport. Hana's trick was working. They watched as the transport powered up and left the station, heading for the next system over. Krelnak was on it. It worked, Jiho breathed, but his relief was short-lived. 10 minutes later, the transport suddenly changed course. It was coming back to the station. No, no, no. Hana's voice came over the communicator. He figured it out. How long do we have? Minho asked. Transport will dock again in 30 minutes. Then he'll go straight for our ship. He'll know the trail was fake, and we're the ones who created it. Minho swore. Something he rarely did. We can't undock yet. The refueling isn't complete. If we disconnect now, we won't have enough fuel to reach the next station. How long until refueling is done? Jiho asked. 45 minutes. So we need to delay him for 15 minutes after he boards the station. 15 minutes against a trained Scarith bounty hunter, Hana said. Great odds. Vexra stood up suddenly. I will surrender to him. It will save your ship. Absolutely not, Jiho said immediately. It is the only way. If he is focused on me, he will not harm your crew. We're not trading your life for 15 minutes, Minho said firmly. There has to be another way. And then Hana said something that surprised everyone. What if we don't hide from him? What if we confront him? Onwell. 1. This. 1. Everyone stared at her. Explain, Minho said. Look, he's expecting us to run or hide. What if instead, we meet him at the docking bay, all of us together? We tell him Vexra is under our protection. We make it clear that if he wants her, he has to go through all of us. He will kill you all, Vexra said. He is trained killer. Maybe, Hana agreed. But station security will respond to a fight in the docking bay. If we can make enough noise, cause enough trouble, security will come. And Krelnak can't complete his hunt if he's in a station jail cell. Jiho looked at Minho. It's risky. Everything about this situation is risky, Minho replied. But I like Hana's plan better than any alternative. We stand together. We make noise. We buy time. 147. Rates. 1. Vexra shook her head. You would all risk your lives for me? I am just stranger. Just enemy. You're our passenger now, Minho said. And I don't abandon passengers. He looked at each of them in turn. Get your gear. We meet him in the docking bay in 20 minutes. As they prepared, Jiho noticed Hana helping Vexra adjust her arm brace without being asked. Something had changed in the engineer. Maybe seeing the crew come together to protect Vexra had shifted something in her thinking. They gathered in the docking bay, just as Krelnak's transport docked. The bounty hunter emerged slowly, his dark eyes scanning the area. When he saw them waiting, he stopped. Surprise crossed his reptilian features. "You stand in my way?" he asked in heavily accented human language. "The only fool here is you," Minho said calmly. "You're threatening our passenger on a neutral station. That's illegal. Thank you for watching. This is the presses." Krelnak's laugh was harsh. "She is not passenger. She is deserter. Property of Scarith. Military. She's a person," Jiho said. "Not property." The bounty hunter's eyes fixed on Jiho. "You are the one who healed her. I can smell your scent on her bandages." He took a step forward. "You interfere with Scarith justice. Your justice is wrong," Jiho said simply. Krelnak roared and drew his blades. But before he could attack, alarms started blaring throughout the station. Security drones descended from the ceiling, their weapons charging. Station security officers emerged from 3 different corridors, surrounding them all. "Drop your weapons," the lead security officer ordered. "All of you, now." The station security held everyone for 3 hours. They questioned each person separately, checking records and verifying stories. In the end, Captain Minho's trading license and clean record saved them. The station commander ruled that Krelnak had violated neutral territory laws by attempting to conduct a military execution on civilian ground. The bounty hunter was confined to his ship and ordered to leave immediately. But there was a cost. The Times Horizon's Edge Times was also ordered to depart. The commander didn't believe Minho's story about Vexra being a passenger, but he couldn't prove otherwise. Still, he wanted everyone involved off his station as soon as possible. No more trouble. They undocked 4 hours earlier than planned, with barely enough fuel to reach the next trading post. But they were free, and more importantly, Vexra was safe. For the first few days of travel, everyone was quiet. The confrontation with Krelnak had shaken them all. They had come very close to a fight that could have killed them. The reality of what they were doing, protecting an enemy soldier during wartime, was finally sinking in. Vexra stayed mostly in Jiho's quarters, healing and staying out of the way. But on the 4th day, she emerged and found Hana working in the engine room. The engineer looked up, surprised. "Do you need something?" Hana asked carefully. "I wanted to thank you," Vexra said, "for standing with me against Krelnak. You did not have to do that." Hana put down her tools. "Yeah, well, watching someone hunt you down like an animal kind of puts things in perspective. Whatever your people did at Station Taeyang, you, personally, didn't do it. I was wrong to judge you for it. Your people killed many Scarith too," Vexra said. "On the border worlds. Whole settlements destroyed. We both have reasons for anger." "Yeah." Hana was quiet for a moment. "So, where does that leave us?" Perhaps, starting over?" Vexra suggested. "2 people, not 2 species at war." Hana smiled slightly. "I can try that." She gestured to a complicated mechanical assembly on her workbench. "You know anything about engine systems?" "No. Scarith warriors are not taught engineering. We are taught only fighting." "Sounds boring." "It was," Vexra admitted. "Very boring. Always the same training, same lessons, same answers to every question. Fight, win, or die, with honor." "Want to learn something new?" Hana asked, holding up a tool. Vexera moved closer, curious. "Yes, I would like that." Over the next week, something unexpected happened. Vexra started integrating with the crew. Hana taught her basic engineering. Vexra taught Hana some Scarith combat techniques that worked well in zero gravity. They trained together in the cargo bay. And slowly, something like friendship formed. Jiho watched this with quiet satisfaction. This was what he had hoped for. Understanding. Connection. Proof that the war didn't have to define everything. One evening, Jiho found Vexera alone in the observation room, staring at the stars. He sat down beside her. "How are your wounds healing?" he asked. "Better. Much better. Your medicine is very effective." She flexed her formerly broken arm. "I will have full strength back soon." "Good." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Vexera spoke. "I have been thinking about what you said, about survival being the strongest instinct, and I think you are right. I think my people forgot this. We became so focused on honor and glory that we forgot why we fight in the first place. We are supposed to protect our people, our families, our future. But how can we protect future if we all die for honor? That's a dangerous question to ask, isn't it? Among your people? Yes. Very dangerous, but I cannot stop thinking it." She looked at him. "You changed something in me. Jiho, when you helped me, when you showed me kindness, you made me question everything I was taught. I do not know if that is good or bad." "I think questioning is always good," Jiho said. "Even if it's uncomfortable. Especially if it's uncomfortable." "There are others like me," Vexera said quietly. "Young warriors who have doubts, who see the cost of our ways. But we cannot speak openly. We would be executed for weakness. Maybe that's why your people keep fighting. Because anyone who questions the war is silenced." "Yes, I think you are right." Before Jiho could respond, the ship's alarm suddenly blared. Captain Minho's voice came over the intercom. "Everyone to the bridge. Now. Emergency situation." They rushed to the bridge, where Minho was staring at the long-range scanners with a grim expression. "We've got a distress signal. Scarith military vessel. Damaged and caught in an asteroid field. They're requesting assistance from any nearby ships." Everyone looked at Vexera. She stared at the screen, her expression unreadable. 7. "They're the enemy," Hana said, but her voice lacked conviction. "They're people," Jiho corrected. "People who need help. If we help them, they might capture us," Minho pointed out. "We have a known Scarith deserter on board. This could be very bad for us. If we don't help them, people will die," Jiho said. "Doesn't that matter more?" Minho looked at him. "You're asking me to risk this entire crew for enemy soldiers. I'm asking you to save lives." Jiho met his captain's eyes. "Isn't that what we do? We're traders, not warriors. We don't pick sides. We just try to survive and help where we can." The captain turned to Vexera. "What do you think? They're your people." Vexera was quiet for a long moment. "If you save them, they will see that humans show mercy. They will see that humans value life. Maybe some of them will question the war, like I did. Maybe it will matter. Or they'll arrest us and execute you," Hana said bluntly. "Yes, that is also possible." Vexera straightened. "But if there is even small chance for change, is it not worth risk?" Minho rubbed his face tiredly. "I'm going to regret this." He turned to his pilot. "Set course for the distress signal. Full speed. I'm sound. I'm scentedly. I'm scentedly. I'm sound. I'm sound. I'm sound. I'm sound." Full speed. The rescue operation took 6 hours. The asteroid field was treacherous, requiring careful navigation. The Scarith ship had been damaged by weapons fire, then drifted into the asteroids while trying to escape. They had 14 crew members on board, 3 of them critically injured. The Times Horizon's Edge Times docked with the damaged ship carefully. Jiho went across with medical supplies, and Vexera insisted on coming with him. The Scarith crew were shocked to see her. Even more shocked to see her working alongside humans to save them. One of the injured was a young Scarith named Dayun, barely 20 years old. She had burns across half her body from an engine explosion. Jiho worked on her carefully, while Vexera held her hand and spoke to her in their own language. You are helping us, one of the Scarith officers said to Jiho, confusion clear in his voice. Why? We are enemies. Because you're hurt. Jiho said simply, not looking up from his work. That's all that matters right now. But we have killed your kind. Many of your kind. And your kind has killed many of mine. But this person here, right now, didn't kill anyone. She's just hurt and needs help. So I'm helping her. He looked up at the officer. Is that really so hard to understand? The officer was quiet for a moment. No, he finally said. It is not hard to understand. It is just not what we were taught about humans. Maybe what you were taught was wrong. After stabilizing all the injured, they transferred the Scarith crew to the Time's Horizon's Edge asterisk. The damaged ship was beyond repair, at least without a proper shipyard. Captain Minho agreed to take them to the nearest neutral station, where they could contact their military for pickup. During the journey, something remarkable happened. The Scarith crew began talking with the human crew. Really talking. Not just necessary communications. They shared meals in the small dining area. They exchanged stories about their homes, their families, their reasons for joining their respective militaries. One evening, Jiho found Vexra speaking with 3 of the younger Scarith warriors. They were listening intently as she told them about her injury, her abandonment, and her rescue by humans. She spoke about what she had learned, the questions she now had about their culture. One of them, a warrior named Taisu, said quietly, I have had these same questions, but I was afraid to speak them. I was afraid too, Vexra admitted. But I think being afraid of questions is worse than being afraid of answers. Another warrior nodded slowly. My brother died in battle last year. They said it was honorable, but I just felt empty, angry. He was 21. He had plans, dreams, all gone for honor. She looked at her hands. I did not feel honored. I felt robbed. You are not alone in feeling this, Vexra said. I think many of us feel this. We are just not allowed to say it. One to the farmer. One to the farmer. When we have a great morning task. When Hadopin rise. Jiho quietly left them to their conversation. This was important. What was happening here? Seeds of change. Planted in unexpected soil. On the last day before reaching the neutral station, young Daeun, the one with burns, asked to speak with Jiho privately. Her injuries were healing well, though she would have significant scars. I wanted to thank you, she said in halting human language, for saving my life, for treating me with kindness. You're welcome, Jiho said. How are you feeling? Better. Confused, but better. She hesitated. I have questions. About humans. About this war. I'll answer what I can. Why do you not hate us? After everything that has happened? Jiho thought carefully about his answer. I don't hate you, because hate is exhausting. It's heavy. It makes everything harder. And most importantly, it doesn't change anything. Hating you won't bring back the people I lost. But maybe understanding you, helping you, might prevent someone else from losing people they love. This is very different from what we are taught about humans. What are you taught? That you are weak, cowardly, ruled by emotion instead of honor. And now? After spending time here? Daeun smiled slightly. Now, I think maybe being ruled by emotion is not weakness. Maybe it is strength. The neutral station was called Haven 9, and it lived up to its name. It was one of the few places in known space where all species were welcome. No questions asked. The station was run by a council of representatives from a dozen different worlds, all committed to maintaining peace and trade. Captain Minho docked the Time's Horizon's Edge times carefully. The Scarith crew would be picked up here by their military within 2 days. Until then, everyone was confined to the ship. The last thing anyone needed was an incident that might bring attention to Vexra's presence. But attention found them anyway. On their second day at Haven 9, Jiho was checking on Daeun's healing burns when Captain Minho rushed into the medical bay, his face pale. "We have a problem," he said. "A big one." "What kind of problem?" Jiho asked. "The kind where a Scarith military commander is demanding to speak with us immediately. And I don't think it's just about picking up the crew we rescued." In the bridge, the communication screen showed a Scarith officer with dark scales and elaborate rank insignia. His name was Commander Thalren, and his expression was cold. "I am told you have been harboring a deserter," Thalren said without preamble. "A warrior named Vexra. Surrender her immediately, and you will not be punished for interference." Captain Minho glanced at Vexra, who stood frozen beside him. "I don't know what you're talking about," he lied smoothly. "We rescued your crew from an asteroid field. That's all. Do not insult my intelligence, human." "My crew reported her presence. They reported that she has been living among you, working with you." Thalren's eyes narrowed. "They also reported something else. Something very interesting." "What's that?" Minho asked carefully. "They reported that she has been speaking against our ways, questioning our honor, teaching others to do the same." The commander's voice was dangerous now. "This is treason. She must face justice." Vexra stepped forward. "I will go with you, Commander. But let me speak first. Let me broadcast a message to our people. Then, I will surrender. You have no right to make demands, deserter." "I am not making demand. I am making request. As one Scarith to another. Give me this one thing, and I will come peacefully." Thalren was silent for a long moment. "You have 5 minutes. Then you will be taken into custody." Vexra turned to Jiho. Can your ship broadcast on Scarith military frequencies?" "We can try," Hana said from her station. "But it won't reach far." "Haven 9 can relay it," Minho said. "They have broadcasting capabilities that reach several systems. If you're going to make a statement, might as well make it loud." Within 10 minutes, they had set up the equipment. Vexra stood in front of the camera, and Jiho saw her hands shaking slightly. He wanted to stop this, to protect her, but he knew this was her choice to make. The recording began. "My name is Vexra, warrior of the Scarith Empire. I speak to you now as a deserter, as someone who failed in battle and chose to live instead of die with honor." She paused. "I was taught that this makes me weak, that survival without victory is shame. But I have learned something in the time since my injury. I have learned that we were taught wrong. I was rescued by a human. His name is Jiho. When I growled at him to scare him away, he saw through my aggression to the pain beneath it. He helped me when he had every reason to leave me to die. His people, who we call our enemies, protected me at great risk to themselves. They showed me more honor than my own unit showed when they abandoned me. I have lived among humans. I have seen their ways. And I must tell you the truth, even if it costs me everything. They are not weak. Their compassion is not cowardice. Their value of life over glory is not failure, it is wisdom. Wisdom we have forgotten. Our ancestors valued life. They valued wisdom and growth. Somewhere along our path, we became focused only on death and honor. We turned into a species that kills our own wounded and calls it justice. We turned into a species that fears questions more than we fear death itself. I am not the only one who thinks this. I have spoken with young warriors who share these doubts, who are tired of watching friends die for nothing, who want a future that includes more than just warfare and glory. I know I will be executed for saying these things. I accept that. But before I die, I needed to speak the truth. I needed to tell you all that there is another way. That survival is not shame. That questioning is not weakness. That perhaps the true honor is in being brave enough to change. She stopped the recording. For a moment, The bridge was completely silent. Then Hana spoke, her voice rough with emotion. That was either the bravest thing I've ever seen, or the most foolish. Perhaps both, Vexera said quietly. Captain Minho immediately sent the recording to Haven 9's broadcasting station. Within minutes, it was being transmitted across multiple systems, including deep into Scarith space. There was no taking it back now. Commander Thalren's face appeared on the screen again, and he was furious. "What have you done?" he demanded. "Do you know what chaos this will cause?" "I told the truth," Vexera said calmly. "Something someone should have done a long time ago. You will be executed for this. Publicly. As an example. I know." But before Thalren could say more, his screen flickered. Someone else was overriding his signal. A new face appeared. An older Scarith, with lighter scales and tired eyes. She wore civilian clothes, not military uniform. "Vexera," the old Scarith said, and her voice cracked with emotion. "My granddaughter." Vexera's eyes went wide. "Grandmother? But they said you were removed." "I thought. I was sent to the outer colonies, to live out my days in silence for teaching dangerous ideas." Her grandmother smiled sadly. "Ideas very similar to what you just said. I have been in exile for 15 years. But I heard your message. Everyone in the colonies heard it. And I need you to know. You are not alone." Luxon. The screen split. More faces appeared. Dozens of them. Hundreds. Scarith of all ages, from colonies all over their territory. Young warriors in training facilities. Elderly civilians who remembered the old ways. Scientists. Teachers. Engineers. All of them watching. Listening. "She speaks truth," one young warrior said on the broadcast. "I have lost 3 brothers to this endless war. 3 brothers who died for honor when they should be alive. Building futures. My daughter questioned a direct order once," an older Scarith said. "She was executed for insubordination. She was 16 years old. I have carried that pain for 20 years. More voices joined. A wave of agreement, of shared pain, of questions that had been held silent for too long. The broadcast became a flood of Scarith voices, all saying similar things, all admitting that they had doubted, that they had questioned, that they were tired. Commander Thalren watched this with an expression that slowly changed from anger to something else. Uncertainty, perhaps. Or, maybe, recognition. "Do you see?" Vexera asked him. "We are not alone. So many of us have these doubts. We have just been too afraid to speak them." Thalren was quiet for a long time. Then he spoke, and his voice was different, softer. "I lost my son 5 years ago. He was a brilliant scientist. He wanted to study medicine, to heal people. But he was required to serve in the military first. He died in his second battle. He was 19 years old." The commander's eyes met Vexera's. "I have told everyone it was an honorable death. I have told myself it was an honorable death. But the truth is, I just want my son back." "I am sorry for your loss," Vexera said gently. "I cannot officially pardon you," Thalren said. "The military law is clear. But," he paused, "I can give you unofficial exile. You are Scarith no longer. You cannot return to our space. But you also will not be hunted. You will simply cease to exist in our records." "That is more mercy than I expected," Vexera said. "It is more mercy than our laws allow. But perhaps..." Thalren looked directly at the camera, knowing his words were being broadcast across Scarith space. "Perhaps our laws need to change. Perhaps there are many things that need to change." The broadcast ended. The bridge of the times. Horizon's edge times was silent again. Everyone processing what had just happened. "Did that just work?" Hana asked. "Did we just start something?" "I don't know," Captain Minho said. "But I think we at least planted a seed." Over the next few days, reports came in from across Scarith space. There were debates in military councils, protests from young warriors, town meetings in civilian colonies. Not everyone agreed with Vexra's message, of course. Many hardliners called for harsher punishments for deserters. But there were others, many others, who were speaking up for the first time. Haven 9's council saw an opportunity. They officially proposed a cultural exchange program between humans and Scarith, a place where people from both species could meet, talk, learn from each other without the pressure of war. It would be small at first, just a few dozen participants. But it was a start. Captain Minho was invited to speak at the opening ceremony. He brought his entire crew, including Vexra. She was technically in exile, but Haven 9 was neutral territory. She was welcome there. The ceremony was simple but meaningful. Representatives from human and Scarith governments stood together and spoke about the possibility of peace, about understanding, about the future. Afterward, Jiho and Vexera walked through the station's observation deck. They watched the stars through the massive windows, just as they had done on the ship weeks before. "What will you do now?" Jiho asked. "I was hoping," Vexra said slowly, "that I might stay with the Time's Horizon's Edge asterisk. If Captain Minho will have me, I could work as security officer. I am strong, even injured, and I have learned some engineering from Hana. You want to stay with us? I have no home among Scarith anymore. But perhaps I have found a different kind of home. With your crew, if you will have me." Jiho smiled. "I think the captain will agree. We could use someone with your skills. And besides, you're not just a security officer. You're family now." Vexera looked surprised. "Family? That's what we become on a ship. After going through what we've been through together, we're not just crew anymore. We're family. I like this human concept," Vexra said softly. They stood together in silence for a while, watching the stars. Behind them, the Cultural Exchange Center was already starting its work. Young Scarith and humans were meeting for the first time, talking nervously but hopefully. "Do you think it will work?" Vexra asked. "This peace we are trying to build?" "I don't know," Jiho admitted. "Peace is hard. Much harder than war. It requires people to change, to grow, to see past their differences. Not everyone can do that. But some can. Yes, some can. And maybe that's enough. Maybe peace doesn't require everyone to change at once. Maybe it just requires enough people to try." Rain. One. "You changed me," Vexra said. "One human, with medical supplies and kindness. You changed how I see the universe, how I see myself." "You changed me too," Jiho replied. "You reminded me why I wanted to help people in the first place. You gave me hope that the war doesn't have to last forever." Vexra reached over and took his hand, the way she had seen humans do when they cared about each other. "Thank you," she said simply, "for seeing past my growl, for understanding that I was just hurt. Thank you for letting me help," Jiho said, "and for being brave enough to question everything you were taught." In the distance, a new ship was arriving at Haven 9. It carried more participants for the cultural exchange, both human and Scarith. More people willing to try understanding instead of fighting. More seeds of potential peace. The war wasn't over. It would probably continue for years, maybe decades. But here, in this moment, on this neutral station, two people from opposite sides of a conflict stood together and watched the stars. They had found understanding. They had found friendship. They had found hope. And sometimes, hope was all you needed to start changing the universe. Captain Minho found them there an hour later. "There you are. I've been looking everywhere. Vexra, I wanted to talk to you about that security position." "Yes, Captain? You're hired. If you want the job, it's yours. Standard pay, standard hours, and you'll need to learn about ship operations. Hana has already volunteered to continue your engineering training." Vexra straightened, something like pride showing in her posture. I accept. Thank you, Captain. Minho nodded, then looked at both of them. What you two started here? It's bigger than any of us expected. Haven 9 wants to hire us for regular supply runs to the cultural center. We'd be transporting people, supplies, information between human and Scarith space. It's good pay. But it also means we'd be right in the middle of this peace process. Is that a problem? Jiho asked. I don't know yet. But I figure if we survived everything we've been through so far, we can survive this too. Minho smiled slightly. Besides, someone has to show them how it's done. How two species can work together without killing each other. Might as well be us. Might as well be us, Jiho agreed. The three of them stood together, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the war continued. People were still fighting, still dying. But here, in this small corner of space, something new was growing. Understanding, compassion, hope, and maybe, just maybe, that would be enough to change everything.